Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene accidentally went woke in her argument against Hunter Biden. So now, Greene retweeted a Daily Caller article suggesting that Hunter Biden had received a very light sentence, a slap on the wrist, and compared him to rapper Kodak Black, who received a 3-year prison sentence on similar charges, in this case, tax evasion, and of course being someone who has an addiction, a substance abuse problem, having possession of a gun. So now, Greene tweeted, "Unfortunately, Kodak's daddy was not president, and he's not white." Whoa. That's actually true. It's true. On both counts. Marjorie Greene went so far right, she ended up woke.
The wokers.
Yeah, she's one of the wokers now. Oh, it's so good. It's so good. Wait, what is that?
Woke.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So now look, race is a determinative factor in America's criminal justice system. Okay. Now, according to a study by the U.S. Sentencing Commission, black male offenders would receive sentences on average 20.4% longer than similarly situated white male offenders. So now some of you might argue, oh, but see, it's because they've got a history of violence, right? No. The study notes that past violence is not a factor in the sentencing disparity. Violent, nonviolent, it actually doesn't matter. The studies have shown, the data shows that if you were black, then you usually get a harsher sentence than a white person. And by the way, that is also coupled with poverty, socioeconomic status. If you're a poor person, you're more likely to spend time in jail than a rich person. So both of those things are correct. In fact, according to a study by 2 economists, boys from the poorest families are 20 times likelier to end up in prison than boys from the richest families, according to a Brookings Institute study by Adam Looney and Nicholas Turner. More than 30% of men ages 30 to 34 born to the poorest families were either in prison, in jail, or were former prisoners. So now, if you want to point that out, that compared to a black man born to a poor family, okay, and if they get, point out that they get treated more unfairly than someone like Hunter Biden, then yes, that is completely true. And that's actually an interesting point. You can branch off and have a very good discussion about, okay, so now that we know this issue, what do we do about it? How do we reform the criminal justice system in order to fix these issues? Now, is that what Marjorie Greene is doing? No. Is she actually trying to make the point that, hey, maybe we shouldn't do this to black people? No, of course not. It's Marjorie Taylor Greene. Of course not. No, what she wants is Hunter Biden, and Hunter Biden specifically, to be put in prison and use that as a way to hurt Joe Biden. Because honestly, that's what it's always been about. Now, the thing is, if you would do that, then you'd have to consider others who have had similar charges against him. For example, Trump ally Roger Stone. Now, Trump ally Roger Stone actually owed $2 million in back taxes. So that's actually more than what Hunter Biden had owed. Okay. Now, what happened with Roger Stone? Well, in that case, he was allowed to pay it back without any criminal charges pressed against him. He agreed to pay it back, and he paid it back. All right, then. So now, in reality, compared to other rich white people, Hunter Biden did not get off as easily. In fact, legal experts said first-time offenders, which is what he is, are rarely prosecuted for both the gun and the tax charges that Hunter Biden is facing right now. In fact, NYU law professor and former federal prosecutor Andrew Weissman described Biden's penalties in both cases as, quote, if anything harsh, not lenient. Ohio State University law professor Douglas Berman suggested that prosecutors may have brought the charges because Biden is the president's son, telling the New York Times that in most instances, the charges he faces are typically attached to more serious offenses. But in this case, quote, failure to bring some charges when there is no factual dispute could create the impression of a two-tiered system of justice. Now, again, we actually do have a two-tiered justice system, as I just explained. If you're black and poor, you're generally screwed. You are treated much more harshly than if you are wealthy and white. That is the reality of this country. But there's another irony here, right? And I think this is just fun to point out. You know the federal statute that led to the gun charge against Biden? That might end up facing legal challenges because of Republicans. Oops. Federal court in Texas recently ruled that prohibiting drug users from possessing firearms is a violation of the Second Amendment. So if you want to punish Hunter Biden for, again, being a drug user, which he was, and prosecute him for having a firearm, do you not believe in the Second Amendment then? Real weird quandary going on here. So now Marjorie Greene, anti-Second Amendment, and woke. We live in weird times. Very, very weird times. Oops. Look, it is funny because Marjorie Greene accidentally makes a good point about criminal justice reform, obviously without realizing it. But make no mistake, Marjorie Taylor Greene is not a fan of actual justice. She's really just a fan of trying to punish her political enemies.